Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you guys so much for attending. We are excited that you are here this morning. If you are having problems with hearing me, or if you are having technical issues, you can use the Q&A only for those type of issues while the presentation is going on. Other than that, I ask you to refrain from putting questions in the chat or in the Q&A until after the presentation so that we can either let you come off of mute and answer those questions verbatim, or you can write it in the chat and write it in the Q&A section and we'll respond to you that way. If for some reason you know that you are not going to be around to the end of the presentation, please put your question with your email in the Q&A and then we will respond to you via email. Other than that, I'm hoping that everyone will get their questions answered as the presentation goes on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello and good morning. We're going to have our wonderful presentation get started now.
Great. Thank you, Audrey. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us this morning. My name is Ligia Ibarres, and I manage the Workforce Solutions Program with the city's Department of Planning and Development, Small Business Advocacy Division. And joining me is my colleague, David Diaz, who worked closely with me on this program. Thank you all for being here today and for the outstanding work you do as small business owners. Your dedication and drive are what make Chicago truly exceptional. We deeply appreciate the time, energy, and investment you put not only into your businesses, but also into strengthening the communities around you. We are especially excited to connect with employers and business owners who are committed to growing their teams and investing in talent. We understand that running a business comes with unique challenges, from staying competitive in a fast-moving market to attracting and retaining skilled workers. For small businesses, every dollar and every decision matters. That's why programs like this are so important. They're designed to help you stretch your training budget further by reimbursing up to 100% of eligible training costs for current employees and new hires, with the maximum grant award of up to $250,000. Whether you're growing your team or helping current staff learn new skills, this program makes workforce development more affordable. We are thrilled to finally open the Workforce Solutions programs for applications citywide. This is an enhanced iteration of a legacy program that some of you may be familiar with. Over the past few years, we have made significant programmatic improvements that will allow us to support more businesses across the city. And this is truly an exciting time for us. Joining us today is our program administrator, Employment and Employer Services, who will be walking us through the presentation. If you've had the pleasure of working with them before, you know firsthand how valuable they are in supporting the Chicago small business community. They will be instrumental in guiding applicants through the application process and ensuring smooth project management. Additionally, please do not hesitate to reach out to DPD and use our office as a resource. We're here to support your business, and we're ready to listen and offer support in any way we can. Thank you all again for being here today. I will now turn it over to Anissa Jones, Senior Vice President for E&ES.
Thank you, Ligia. Good morning, everyone. As Ligia mentioned, my name is Anissa Jones, and I'm a Senior Vice President with Employment and Employer Services. We are very grateful to partner with DPD to administer the Workforce Solutions Program as their new program administrator. A little bit about our organization. We've been around since 1983, and we've partnered and worked with many Chicagoland businesses and residents for over 40 years. At our agency, we are dedicated to advancing the economic foundation of communities by providing and supporting with development of a skilled workforce. And we're very much looking forward to doing that in partnership with DPD for nonprofits as well as local businesses to help them achieve their training goals. As the program administrator, we will be responsible for the oversight and day-to-day operations and implementation of the program. We are excited to work very closely with nonprofits and businesses to assist you all through this application process and provide whatever technical and hands-on assistance that you need through the full life cycle of the grant. We, again, are just committed to helping organizations and businesses through the city and think it's very important that we are able to assist with providing much needed training and upskilling. So again, thank you, DPD, for this opportunity. We're really excited about this full launch, and I will now turn it over to Audrey, who will continue us with the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Anissa. My name is Audrey Johnson. I am your program director. I am the person that is going to be here to support you guys as we move through this process. So today's webinar is to give you information to help you decide on applying for these particular funds. I want to first go over our presentation overview. These are the things that we're going to be discussing today within this presentation. What is Workforce Solution? Eligibility and funding, grant calculation examples, ineligible businesses, business location, application process, reimbursement process, visits and monitoring, closeout steps, frequently asked questions, and next steps. Additional resources you can benefit from. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a Q&A section where you can both write your questions in and you can raise your hands and come off of mute. But I ask that you don't put questions in the Q&A or the chat right now while the presentation is going on. Hopefully, we will answer a lot of your questions. What is Workforce Solutions? Workforce Solution grants cover qualified training for current employee upskilling and new hire on-the-job training. OJT is a frame that you will, a notation that you'll see a lot, and it means on-the-job training. We also support leadership development, technology skills, and much more. Workforce Solutions reimbursement grants are funded through the City of Chicago via TIF. Many of you all know what TIF is tax increment financing. But it's also, we have funds that are proceeds from the Housing and Economic Development Bond. And you've heard me say bond in some of our conversations. Grants may fund up to 100% of eligible expenses for businesses seeking to train your current employee or incumbent employee or new hires. Eligibility requirements. You have to be located in, expanding into, or relocating to the city of Chicago, which means these funds only are for businesses that are located in the city of Chicago. Workforce training for permanent full-time or permanent time staff. These are not temporary jobs. These are if you are hiring people at a full-time capacity or part-time capacity. Commitment to remain in the community area for at least 3 years. Financially prepared to support training costs, which means you're going to pay for the training costs up front and then be reimbursed. You have to be in a position to be able to do that. And then each grant is limited up to $250,000 within a 3-year waiting period. So if you in the first year, if you do 250,000, you won't be able to come back and apply until after 3 years. There are different eligible industries. Non-for-profits are very encouraged to apply. Food service, tourism and hospitality, healthcare and life sciences, manufacturing and industrial, information technology, real estate, finance, insurance, retail, energy, education and training, transportation, distribution, and logistics. Now, this list is not all inclusive. If you have a particular business that you don't see listed, just give me a call. We will work it out and let you know where you fall. What will Workforce Solutions fund? We know that it's training. So the Workforce Solutions Program can fund your training, but for Current employees, incumbent employees means the same thing. New hire on the job training. The notation with on the job training, the people who you are hiring, they must be Chicago residents. We can use training for leadership development, instruction, wages, and training fee. When you use a third-party trainer to come in and do your training or do your upscaling, we pay for those funds as well. Training supplies and materials, but they have to be associated with the training costs. So if there is a manual or a booklet or an electronic file that you have to pay for people to go through the training, those associated costs can be covered. And then training rental equipment. So we do not purchase equipment. Let me be clear about that. We don't purchase vehicles, no equipment, but we do allow you to rent equipment if it is specific to a specific training. So if there's a new piece of equipment out there that you need to train your people on, that would be covered. And then if you needed to have a customized training curriculum created, that could also be covered. So let's take a step back and kind of look at the funding overview and who's eligible and where. The Workforce Solutions Program is a reimbursement grant that can fund up to 100% of the total eligible cost, up to a standard maximum of $250,000. So if the projects are eligible for 100% reimbursement, you fall in these categories. Up to 1 million in annual sales. So if you're under at 1.5 or under 1.5 in your annual sales, you are 100% eligible for those costs under commercial businesses. Under industrial businesses, if you have a maximum of 40 or below, then you are 100% eligible for those costs. If you're non-for-profits, you're 501(c), you are 100% eligible for those costs, which means you don't have a match that needs to be contributed. You're 100% awarded, whatever you would be awarded under the grant. So let's continue this. There are some organizations that will fall up under 25% contribution or 50% contribution. And if you follow the little box at the top under commercial, up to 5 million in annual sales. So any business or non-for-profit that is up to 5 million in annual sales, and if you're industrial, you have a maximum of 125 employees, you're going to contribute a 25% match. And when I say match, I'm not saying that it's dollars. It's not that you're matching this in finance, but you're matching it in contributions. The contributions may be expenses that you're already providing and paying for, and the grant is not reimbursing you for that. For example, wages for staff used to assist with training. You may be bringing in a third-party trainer and you're paying for that. That we would reimburse you for. But say there's other staff that you have, other that are part of the training that's supporting the training, and you're not asking for those funds to be reimbursed. That money that you're spending can go towards your 25% contribution. If you're paying for the materials and supplies, papers, pens, booklets, and things like that, and you're not asking for that to be reimbursed, but it's a part of your training plan and you're paying for that, that can go towards your 25% contribution. And even the wages where you have your current staff, you got to go sit in this training for 4 hours and you're paying them, that can be utilized and shown as your 25% contribution. Same way with 50%, but the difference here is only that these are for organizations, businesses, or non-for-profits that exceed 5 million in annual staff or have more than 125 individuals on their staff. But it works the same way. You're showing what you can contribute or what you are contributing financially towards the success of the overall training. Next slide, please. So here's some examples to help you understand that component. Here is an example of 25% match or contribution. Lori submits an application for a workforce solution grant. She's in a TIF area, an approved TIF that has funding. She's proposing training with the total eligible cost of $100,000 for her incumbent worker training. Over the past 3 years, Lori's hospitality business has grossed $4 million in annual sales. Here's the breakdown of Lori's eligible costs. So she's eligible, and her projected cost is $100,000 for training. She's a commercial business that is over 1.5 million. So between 1.5 and 5 million, she falls up under the 25% business contribution. So her grant is still for the full amount of the $100,000, but she's going to show us in kind, or she's going to show us how she is also contributing to a business as a business. And so those examples that we talked about earlier about your incumbent workers are in training and you're paying them to be in training, so you can utilize that cost to support your 25,000. Our next slide. And here is the same type of situation, but it's at the higher amount. This is a 50% match because in this scenario, the person exceeds 5 million. Sam submits an application for Workforce Solutions. He's in an open TIF that is funded. He's proposing training with a total eligible cost of $200,000. He has 20 current employees, and he's a manufacturing company. He has 20 current employees. He's a manufacturing company who employs over 250. The breakdown of Sam's eligible cost is that he's eligible for the 200,000. He has over 125 employees. This is what puts him in the 50% business contribution bracket. And so, although his Workforce Solutions grant can still be granted for 200,000, he's going to show us those in-kind costs and different costs that he's paying that will total over $100,000 in support of his training. And finally, here is an example of a zero match contribution. Jessica applies for a Workforce Solution grant and is eligible in a funded area. Her non-for-profit organization serves the homeless at shelters throughout the city of Chicago. She is proposing training for a total of eligible costs of $125,000 for her incumbent, her current staff for their training. In addition to that, she's also asking for on-the-job training and wanted to bring on 2 new hire positions. Over the past 3 years, her non-for-profit has grossed $450,000. She is below the 1.5 that we talked about earlier. So her gross income is $450,000. She's a non-for-profit. She's automatically 100% able to get 100% of the funds back, and she's not required to show any match. So if you're below 1.5 in your business, you qualify for zero match. If you're a non-for-profit, you qualify for zero match. Here is a list of ineligible businesses and organizations. And let me just start off by saying that this list does not encompass everybody and everything. But if there's any questions about your business, please reach out to me as the program director, and I will get that resolved for you. But here is a good list that we have established for right now. So if you're a chain business, if you are a branch bank, an employment agency, religious worship institution, currency exchange, payday loan stores, pawn shops, astrology palm reading stores, K through 12 schools, gas station, liquor stores, bars and nightclubs, smoke shops, cigar lounge, adult uses, firearms store, shooting range, massage parlors, hotels and motels, residential storage warehouses, track waging facilities, trailer storage yards, or junk yards. So if you fall in those categories, you are not eligible for these particular training dollars. Business location. And many of you all have talked to about if you're in a TIF district versus not being in a TIF district. So if you're not in a TIF district, that should not discourage you from applying. We do have other funds, like we've mentioned earlier, bond, and the city is even working to expand that and have other opportunities. So if you're not in a TIF area, you can still apply. And E&ES, which is myself and our partners, will discuss options for other potential funding opportunities with you. If you're in a TIF district with no funding, so there are over 100 TIFs, this particular grant does support 35 of those 100. So you may come across that you're sitting in a TIF that is just not funded by Workforce Solutions yet, not currently eligible for the Workforce Solutions, but E&ES will notify you when those funds in that TIF would open up and be available for you to apply for them. So still apply so that we can keep track of you and notify you when those funds are going to come available. All are welcome to apply. We really don't want to discourage anyone. Because upscaling and training is needed for your employers if you fit in that category and you are hiring new employees to enhance the success of your business. These are the people who we're looking to apply for this grant. And we will work with you on what pot of money you qualify for based on your location. So here are the current, remember I said there's over 100 TIFs throughout the city of Chicago. Here are the 35 TIF districts that are designated for the Workforce Solutions Program. 105th in Vincennes, 119th in Halsted. And remember, as I read this list, this is the list of TIF areas. And later on, you'll see a map. So it's like mapped out areas. It's not just those streets, but 105th in Vincennes, 119th in Halsted, 119th in I-57, 35th in Halsted, 47th in Ashland, 47th in Halsted, 47th in King Drive, 47th in State, 53rd Street, 71st and Stony Island, 79th Street and Southwest Highway, 79th and Vincennes, 87th and Cottage Grove, the Austin Commercial TIF, Avalon Park, South Shore, Bronzeville, Chicago Central Park, Commercial Avenue, Division and Holman, Eston Armstrong, Inglewood Neighborhood, Fullerton, Milwaukee, Greater Southwest East, Humboldt Park Commercial, the Kinsey Industrial Corridor, Lawrence and Broadway, Michigan Cermak, Pulaski Corridor, River West, Roseland, Michigan, Stevenson Brighton, Washington Park, West Woodlawn, Wilson Yard, and Woodlawn. These are the 35 current TIFs. I really want to encourage everyone to apply, whether you're in these areas or not. Funding is limited, but as one of these areas, maybe their funding get exhausted, we still will keep your application and consider you for when, if monies are, refunded in that area, if the TIF is refunded, which some are every year, then you'll be notified. Your application won't go to naught. You'll be notified that the funds are available and when your application is being considered. So going back to business location, all 35 Workforce Solution TIFs, including in the Workforce Solutions Program will open this coming June 16th. In a few days. You have 6 days. There is a TIF locator tool. You can find it. And let me just say, everyone will get a copy. Everybody who attended today will get a copy of this PowerPoint deck. So you'll be able to have all of this information to refer back to it. But in the TIF locator, you can find out which TIF you are located in. But I will say this, keep in mind, sometimes the TIF is not 100% correct. We have had some discrepancies. So what I do is once you get in contact with me, please have me check your address. What I do is I send your address through a clearinghouse with the city of Chicago, and they will return to me the correct TIF that you might be located in, or if you're not located in a TIF. So even though you use the TIF locator, until it gets verified by the city, it's not legitimate until we verify it. So how do you take all of this information and move forward to apply for this grant? Applications for all 35 eligible TIFs are available, including the 7 TIFs that are expiring. It's all open and everybody can continue to apply. But you must apply through the new platform called Submittable. This is where you're going to actually apply for it. Here's a picture that you can see on the slide of what it looks like. It says Workforce Solutions. You always want to make sure you're in the right place and applying for the right information. So you'll have this link and everything that can take you out there. And then I'm going to show you another place where you can see the same thing and apply. But the initial application process to determine pre-eligibility, that's your first step. So you go online, you fill out the application, you're in the pre-eligibility portion. It takes about 1 to 2 weeks to complete, and then you'll hear back from us. If you're eligible, you move forward to the next stages. If you're outside of a TIF area and you fall in the bond area, it takes up to 30 days for your application to be reviewed, and then you will be contacted from our office. So we have created for E&ES a workforce solutions page that you can go to. So at the point that you are after the 16th or on the 16th, if you want to submit your application, this is a great page. It's full of information. If you hit the Start Here button, it actually walks you through a lot of different information. But 2 key things I want you to pay attention to is where up under the language where it talks about workforce solution, it says submit application. If you click that button while you're on the website page, it takes you out to Submittable and you'll see that previous page. If you do not have a login and everything created, from the past, you can create a new one here and set up your business or non-for-profit, and it will take you right out to the application after you submit and create a login. If you have an old login that you've used for other grants in the past, you still would click here so that you're linked to the Workforce Solutions grant, put in your login and password, and it'll take you right out to the application. You cannot submit the application until the 16th. If for some reason you get in there, you get overly excited and you start filling out the application early on the 14th, the 13th, the 15th, and you finish it, it's going to be deleted. Everybody starts on the 16th. That's when it goes live. That's when it is there, and I don't want to waste anybody's precious time. So please make sure you do not start your application process until the 16th of June in 6 days. Okay, the application process steps. Timeline is tentative and subject to change. Bond funding application timeline will vary. Remember, every 30 days. Okay, so here's a timeline that kind of helps you look at the overall process. And I'm going to go across the top arrows first. eligibility notification, training and assessment. So you are notified that you're eligible. Then you have a few weeks to do your training assessment. Next, you're going to submit your required documents. All of those documents have to be submitted and sent in on time. Then you get a document approval receipt, a document approval saying, hey, okay, we got all your documents. You're good to go to the next level. Then you'll be sent out a receipt agreement. You're going to read that, sign it, and then you're going to get that back into us. At that point, your contract will be executed and processed. That means we received everything we need to move you forward. You're approved, and then we're going to execute the contract. Once you execute the contract, you can start training and you can start hiring. If you hire prior to the agreement, the contract agreement being executed, those new hires cannot fall up under the grant where you would get the reimbursement for their salaries for that 13 weeks. It won't happen then if you hire them beforehand. So I'm just making sure that you all understand. You only hire and start your training once your application has been approved and your contract is being executed. So let's go through the steps. Step 1, after submitting your application through Submittable, the applicant is notified of their eligibility and via Submittable and asked to complete a training needs assessment. All emails that will come with you with required documents will be submitted to you through Submittable's email. Applicant proceeds with submitting the required documents. Step 3, once documents are reviewed and approved, E&ES will send applicants the receipt agreement to review and sign. Step 4, applicant submits executed receipt agreement to E&ES. Once I receive that back. Step 5, applicant is notified the contract has been executed and proceeded and processed, and the business receives a conditional award letter. Then the applicant can begin training. But that goes also for, you can begin hiring for your new hires that are city residents. There is a lot of time sensitive to for the applicant to get approved. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but scofflaw and indebtedness checks, it takes a while for those to come back. So please, if you are ever sent this information, you want your approval process to keep moving, and this is something that you need to respond to right away, because it checks for compliance and child support laws. It verifies that there are no debts owed to the city of Chicago, and you need to complete an economic disclosure statement. So you'll be provided that information, you fill it out, you get it in as soon as you can so that it can go through the city and we can get a result back. Your required documentation. This is a list of all the documentation that you're going to have to submit as a part of this grant. The training needs assessment you get from us. You'll fill it out, submit it back. The proof of revenue, those are your financial statements and different documents that show proof of your revenue. A certificate of insurance where you need to add the city of Chicago. Program policies and procedures that you're going to read over this whole process. And back on that page where I showed you the workforce solutions page, you'll see that there is a copy of the policy and procedure manual out there to help you through the process. You're going to be sent an economic disclosure statement from us. You would fill that out, sign it, and send it back in. There's a principal profile, child support affidavit, copy of business license, monitoring protocol requirements, the ARCH banking information. We need that so that we can provide you payments for your reimbursement. Training curriculum schedule. So you need to lay out your training. When is it going to happen? How many hours and how many staff are being trained? And then training resumes or references related to how qualified your trainers are to complete the training, and then training cost and estimates. and quotes that you receive from your third-party trainer. Reimbursement for eligible costs. Vouchers and documentation can be submitted for reimbursement after training sessions are complete. So once you complete your training sessions, then you can, and you've paid your trainer, or you've paid your staff under the on the job training, the new hires. Once you've paid them, then there's a timeline that we'll discuss later about when you can submit those vouchers so that those reimbursement dollars can be on their way back to you. The frequency, incumbent worker training, you can submit up to 3 vouchers during the contract term. So you're gonna have a certain amount of time you're gonna have to get your training done, and during that time you can submit 3 vouchers to get your reimbursement back. Regarding on-the-job training, every month, so every 4 weeks, you can submit the pay stubs of those individuals that you hired under the program, and you can get that moving forward. You don't have to wait till the 13 weeks is over. For 3 months, each month, you can submit that documentation, and then you can get reimbursement for that. Reimbursement for eligible costs. So here's some steps. We're kind of talking through the process. Step 1, documentation is submitted for reimbursement. There's a voucher form. You need to provide invoices. You need to provide receipts that you've paid for your trainers or you've paid for your staff. You have to have proof of those payments. For each training, for incumbent training, for each training you do for your staff, you need to have a sign-in sheet. We want to see those staff listed who completed the training, who benefited from the program. Only for OJT, on the job training, we're going to ask for proof of wages payments in the form of pay stubs. Step 2, review and approval of submitted documentation by E&ES and DPD. So first is going to be submitted to E&ES. We're going to review all your documentation, make sure that it's complete and that we have everything. And then there's also going to be a review done by DPD. Reimbursement can take 6 to 8 weeks, depending on voucher and documents are accurate and complete. The process gets longer if you forgot to send us your invoices. We got your invoices, but we didn't get your receipts to show that you've made payment. Those are the things that can make the 6 to 8 weeks even longer. But 6 to 8 weeks is a standard. As a part of your incumbent training, there will be visits and some monitoring. Agree upon monitoring and compliance check-ins, which means we're going to have a schedule of your trainings and we will schedule with you to come out and do some check-ins. Submission of required attendance and wage reports, scheduled site visits to observe the training. Businesses stay in the community for at least 3 years. If you know that you're getting ready to move, say you're in a TIF, you're in the Inglewood TIF, and you know that your business is getting ready to move in a year, then you may not be in that TIF in a year. And for these funds, we want the business to be secure for the next 3 years. So keep that in mind when you think about applying. You might want to wait until you move, see if you're in a TIF then, and then apply because you're going to be sitting in that TIF for the next 3 years. Agreed upon annual follow-up discussions for 3 years to discuss business needs post-training. How has the training supported you? How has it benefited you? How did these dollars make an impact in your community? Follow-ups can include phone calls or emails. Closeout steps. So we've done application, we've done reimbursement, and now we're looking at closeout. Closeout reports and final voucher documents must be submitted when all training has been completed. All training in your contract So whatever your last trainings are, they have to be completed before we can reach and close out. Training business goals will be noted at the start of the contract period. So you'll know how much time you have to have all training completed. The closeout report provides a summary of what the trainings accomplished, their impact, the return on investment, and any challenges faced throughout the process. Pending funding grant agreement, applicants may be eligible for a 2% administrative compensation upon completion of the closeout report. There's a lot of reports that you have to do, and by you doing that, you could benefit and be eligible for this additional 2% administrative compensation. You will get a list of, if some of you already may have this because I sent it to you, but these are our frequently asked questions. These questions are on the website page. This is something I can send to you if you don't have it already, but it helps answer a lot of your questions. So what are your next steps? The application for the 7 expiring TIFs. So in May, we had a webinar only for the expiring TIFs. They expire 2025. It's open for you all still. So if you sit in any of these, if today you're on the call and you sit in any of these TIF areas, you do not have to wait until June 16th to apply for the grant. You can apply today. You actually need to do it as soon as possible because all training needs to be completed by September for these TIFs. Applications for all 35 of the Workforce Solution TIFs and other citywide opportunities will be accepted starting on June 16th. So only the 7 here can write and start their application process today. Everybody else in the other TIFs, remaining TIFs, I think it's 28, you cannot start until June 16th. The city was gracious enough to provide us with some additional resources that you all can look into. These are other funding opportunities. There's the Small Business Improvement Fund, Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, Community Development Grant, Business Affairs, and Consumer Protection. If I were you, take the time, investigate if one of these might be something that you can do, because these are not, the reason they're listed here is that they're not in competition with what you do for Workforce Solutions. These are additional to you applying for Workforce Solutions. These may be a good fit for you as well. So check into those. That brings us to the end of our presentation. Here is my contact information. Again, Audrey Johnson, I'm your program director. I am here to support you and to provide you with answers as you go through this process. We also have our coordinator of economic development, Ms. Lahia Alvarez, who is with the City of Chicago, Department of Planning and Development. So we are here to answer your questions. Take a moment, if you would, and write down our phone number or write down my phone number, our email addresses. And then up under my email address, you will see this website page. That is the page that I showed you, where you can start the application and everything, which is the Workforce Solutions page under E&ES. So with that being said, thank you all so much for following directions, for not putting things in the Q&A or the chat, because now we're at that point where we're going to multitask a little bit. We're going to allow you all, if you have a question. Now, keep in mind, let me preface this by saying, if you have a question that's very specific to your business that might only occur to you, we want to do that one-on-one. So email me, call me after the webinar, and I will work with you. But if you have a question that you think everybody can benefit from, please put that now in the Q&A if you want to write your question, or raise your hand. And as you raise your hand, we will ask you to come off mute, and then we will answer your question. You have a few people here with the City of Chicago as well as E&ES staff that can answer your questions. So please raise your hand at this time and we will answer your questions. And then we have a different staff person who is working on anyone who puts your questions in the Q&A. Okay, Jacqueline Taylor, if you can come off mute and speak a little with volume so we can hear your question. Hello, Jacqueline.
Yes, my question is, I know the application period opens the 16th, but when does it actually close?
So we are, oh, you know what? Let me let Lahia answer that. I was just going to jump in there.
That is okay, Audrey. You can definitely jump in, but it is an open application period. Like Audrey mentioned, funds are limited in the different geographic areas. So we just encourage people to apply as soon as they can. Essentially, it is depending on the funding source, first come, first serve. So apply as soon as you can. Even if there's no funding, you'll be waitlisted for future funding period.
Great, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Any other hands, any other questions? I saw also a question in the chat from Janita. Are there fees for online Coursera Academy courses eligible for this grant? So as long as the courses are job related and not leading to a degree, yes. They will be eligible. However, we do encourage employers to seek trainees with providers that can provide live customized curriculums as needed. But yes, those would be eligible as well.
I don't see any more hands. Anyone else want to raise their hand and come off mute? I know, Lahia, I can read the questions in the chat if you want, and then you
There's a second question in the chat that I think it should pertains to Ms. Tucker, so I can connect with her directly after this call. There's a third question though. Applications from those businesses not in the TIF, but possibly funded by the bond, given a lower approval priority than those located in the TIF. I wouldn't say there's lower approval or lower priority, excuse me. It's just it is going to be a slight different application review process. It just depends again because of different funding that's available, different sources. We have different criteria, but they would not be given lower approval priority.
There's a question that says, we are hearing that the Inglewood neighborhood TIF is expiring as well. Please provide clarity. I do not have Inglewood as an expiring TIF for 2025.
I don't have that on my end either. So to our knowledge,
it's not an expiring TIF this year. There's another question. Can we go back to reimbursement in the scofflaw slides, please? Okay, Megan, can you come off mute and actually ask your question? Okay, I'm not sure. Is Megan still here? Okay, we'll come back around. Megan is not responding. Okay, thanks for you.
And just a quick update, the Inglewood neighborhood TIF is set to expire in 2037.
So yeah, that's quite a bit of time. Okay, here's a question from Lisa. Is it a 1-year period to complete the trainings? I apologize if this was stated already.
Thank you, Lisa. So it depends. Typically, if you are not in a TIF that's expiring, one of the 7 TIFs that is expiring at the end of this year, yes, contracts do have a 1-year period. Within that 1-year period, there's a caveat. It's 9 months to complete the training and the 3 remaining months for the closeout period. So that's in order to make sure that you get everything processed and paid in time within the 1-year contract. So it's actually 9 months for training and 3 months for closeout.
Anissa, can you go back to the scofflaw slide, Megan says that she can't come off of mute, so I think she just wants to see it again.
Sure, Megan, try to come off of mute now. You should be able to speak now, but I will go back to that slide.
Oh, okay. Megan, try it now. She's removed you off of the mute.
Okay, yep, now I am able to do so. Thank you.
Hello, she is a real
Hi.
Okay.
I am a real girl.
So
yes.
what was your question?
No, it was definitely just going back to the slides because I wanted to make sure that I captured all the information what the scofflaw and the indebtedness check encompasses. And then I wanted to also make sure I got the information on the reimbursement.
So with scofflaw, you would get that form from us. There would be 3 links. You would download the form, fill it out, and then submit it. So this is for anybody who passes eligibility. When we start to collect the documentation, you would get that and instructions on how to fill it out from us.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What was
And
your question about reimbursement?
for the reimbursement, if we could go back to that slide, please.
It's a few of them. Anyone in particular? This one?
Yep, that one. I just want to make sure we are identifying when we can submit. Okay.
Depending on where you are located, June 16th is for everybody. So if you're not a expiring TIF, June 16th is your day to apply.
Okay.
Quick note, we do have 3 minutes remaining, so we want to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have a pending question that has not been answered, please go ahead and put it in the chat, followed with your email, and we will make sure to follow up with you directly to answer that question. Alternatively, you can we can go back to the contact slide and you can email us as well with your question, and we'll make sure to address that. We will also be able to stay past 11 for a few minutes. So if anyone has any questions and they're able to stick around, please go ahead and do so. But for anyone that cannot stay past 11, please email us or put your question in the chat, follow with your email.
I do have a hand up for Ryan Patterson. Ryan, can you come off mute and ask your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I just typed it in the question as well. So I do believe the district I think we're in the West Loop. So I believe we would be in the River West district. At least that's the one that makes sense to me as far as naming convention. So that is expiring. So does that mean that we would have to apply now, but we would only have till September if we were awarded that? Is that what that means?
If you are in River West, that is an expiring TIF. If you were in there, but first thing I would say is send me an email and give me your business address. I will send that through the clearinghouse. Let's get it verified first of all. And then if you are in that, yes, you can write for the grant now. And then once you are approved, you will have until September, the end of September, to finish all of your training. So that just means be selective and particular about the trainings and make sure that whatever amount of training that you're going to be asking for, that it's realistic that you will be able to complete in September.
In 3 months.
Yeah, just like
Okay.
Lahia said though, because you need to do closeout so that you can get reimbursed too. So you want to be able to have those reimbursement dollars.
So it would be training plus closeout before
The
by
closeout is
September.
beyond September, right?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
want to have training done by September. Do you want to add anything to that, Lahia?
I apologize. I was actually answering a question in the Q&A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I answer that for you, Ryan?
Yes, you did. So I believe, yes. Yeah, you did. Thank
And
you.
you know what? I can help you with that. So if you're gonna apply, just give me a call or email me. We'll meet virtually and I'll help you work on that.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up. Anyone else have a question? Can we use funds as a part? That is John, I'm gonna have Lahia or David answer that question. There is a question in the chat, Lahia, that says, can we use funds as part of a One Summer Chicago program?
No, unfortunately not. One Summer Chicago is for youth, and they, I mean, you obviously know what the program is to hire youth for the duration of the summer. With Workforce Solutions Program, all new hires must be permanent employees. So the only youth range really that can be hired, given this, are 18 to 24-year-olds. So with the One Summer Chicago, you do have to either use some of their funding or your own business funding. I see Jennifer Franco had a comment that you were losing signal. This webinar will be posted as well. So when we send out a deck, I'm sure we'll be sending out a link to the webinar. And if you have any questions after you see that, feel free to send them our way.
Yeah, Jennifer, just give me a call. We can provide you with the whole presentation because it's being recorded. And then I can answer any questions that you might have.
And then I see that we have one pending question in the Q&A. We're training and professional development programs available via Coursera be an eligible expense. We did answer this briefly earlier. It would be as long as those trainings are job related and they're not leading to a degree. So I do see that micro credentials. So we cannot do, for example, human resources, and this is something we can touch. We can definitely connect offline. You can connect with Audrey and myself. But most, if it's industry specific training, we would be able to cover that. Are there any other pending questions?
I don't see any. We've answered everything in the chat, the Q&A, and I don't see any hands up.
Thank you all so much for attending today. If you do have a question after this webinar or after you receive the deck, if you're not sure about something, please feel free to reach out to Audrey or myself. Our contact information is on the screen right
Fill
now,
up on the slide.
but it will also be in the deck that you'll be receiving. So thank you again, everyone, for attending. We really do hope to see a lot of your names with applications that will be submitted starting June 16th, if you're not part of one of those 7 TIF districts.
Thank you guys for everything. Much appreciated. Looking forward to working with everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day to
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.